Hey guys, this is Smartbound from Western New York Airsoft League, and I am here to explain what I'm always talking about with the US BDU or Battle Dress Uniform cut, which is the predecessor to the more common Army Combat Uniform cut, which is present on the ACU pattern or the Universal Camouflage Pattern Uniform, excuse me, which has been much maligned as that sort of gray digital pattern that the Army has been using up until recently. Um, the example I have here is a typical three-color U.S. desert pattern, which was introduced in 1992 or 1993, right after the end of the first Gulf War. And as you can see, it's got these three primary colors: a very light green, khaki color, and then the brown waves to it. And this was in use from 92 to about 2004, 2005 with the Army before they start switching over to the universal camouflage pattern, which they're already getting rid of in favor of uniforms like multicam. So the three color is a very common pattern. It was used in Somalia. It was used in the first, the second Iraq War, Afghanistan, and a couple other places that the U.S. was deployed during the 1990s. And it's a very simple pattern. It took over for the more complex six-color so-called chocolate chip pattern, which I think was really more designed to be used in like the Egypt, North Africa, Middle East area, as opposed to more generic desert environments, which this one was, as it had some rocky drawings to it, as opposed to this one, which is just more of a generic mimetic pattern. And the pattern's been very widely used both by the U.S. military, but it's also been copied by everyone from Russia to Libya. Anybody who watched the news in the last year or so probably saw some Libyan rebels wearing a version of this uniform. What I'm going to do is I am going to run through the BDU cut of uniform. Um, M81 Woodland is very often referred to as a BDU, but the BDU really refers to the cut of the uniform as opposed to the pattern that is printed on it. So what we'll do here is start off with the basics. This is 100% cotton ripstop. I'm not 100% sure about this uniform, but I know non-ripstop versions were made of the woodland cut, especially during the 80s, or the woodland pattern, excuse me. It's got this typical exposed plastic disc button, which is color matched to whatever pattern it's being made in. And then it has this storm flap with covered buttons that run down pretty much to the end of the uniform, but not quite. There is the last button right here, and overall there are 5 buttons that make up the front closure for the uniform. And this front flap that's present on the BDU cut has been closed with a Velcro closure on the more recent ACU cut. And going on from there, we also have these wrist cinches with 2 plastic disc buttons and a beveled closure. This is the fully open, then a partially and fully closed closure with a hook and eyelet, or a button and eyelet, excuse me. Right up here we've got, it's a little hard to see, but reinforcing panels of material on the elbows, which obviously help with the wear and tear. One interesting thing about the BDU cut, which you won't see in a lot of combat jackets, is the lack of epaulets up at the top. A lot of places will put in epaulets with a single button and eyelet closure. The collar's fairly standard. The stitching up at the top is also very standardized. It's, 2 lines of stitching, very rugged. Then we'll move on to the pocket layout, which is 2 chest pockets, which are fairly large. We'll put a quarter on there like usual. And these are closed by 2 covered button and eyelet button closures. Fairly standard. This has been omitted from the Army uniform. The Marines still use buttons, but the Army has moved on to hook and loop closures. Then we've got these 2 waist pockets, which are slightly bigger. Another quarter there. These are closed by the same manner as the top 2 chest pockets. And all of these pockets are semi-bellowed, which means they're flat stitched right here. They don't expand, but on this side they expand out to allow for more of whatever to be shoved into them. These are the same. They've got a well, they're not the same. I apologize. They're actually fully bellowed all the way from here down to here and around. For some reason I was thinking they were flat stitched at first, but they are fully bellowed, so these will carry a lot more to them. I'm just going to turn this over real quick for a quick look at the back, and a couple of things that are evident. Again, very simple waist cinches, 2 buttons, and again a beveled hook and or button and eyelet closure, excuse me, very similar to the wrist closures. You'll also notice this is made out of a single piece of fabric. A lot of nations will, for some reason, make this out of 2 pieces. And I'm not sure why that is, but the US decided that was not a good idea and went with a single piece of clothing for the BDUs. Next, I'm going to talk about the pants in a second and the main features of BDU cut pants.